This video is going to be a level design analysis of a mod that was released in 2011. This mod is called Precursor, and it's for Half-Life 2 Episode 2. And it's one of the better mods out there, basically. It's like the 8th most popular in terms of downloads. And, you know, it's got a lot of, you know, play it nows and personal favourites. And I really like it, and it's got a lot to it. Now, it doesn't do well in like introducing new things to kind of the Half-Life 2 experience, but it certainly has the fundamentals in it. So I'll be pointing them out as we go along, and if you're a newer mapper, then this will probably help. So this is Half-Life Precursor, and you can get it on runthinkshootlive.com. I'll link it in the description. Alright, so, right off the bat, I'll just talk a bit about the way that this is set up immediately. So, we've obviously just woken up, which I guess is a good start to a mod. But more importantly, we can see what surrounding we're in, what setting we're in. We can see immediately what enemies we're going to initially be facing. Also, this area, we will be out here in a few minutes' time once we get out of this building and come around. So you're seeing a bit of the I guess we'll call it a playground or play area where the player's going to go. So it's a bit of foreshadowing there. But it kind of aims like the camera at the window to kind of show you. Also, there's the G-Man.
This is no ordinary police raid. It's a citywide manhunt. Avoid the streets, move fast, and head to the Delta Rally point up north. Good luck, Romanov. Oleg out.
Okay, so the inclusion of this kind of narrative is it's good that it does it, although it's not vital. You don't need to hear what this guy is saying. And I do like storylines being done in these mods, but they're very, very rarely done very well. So I'd rather a bad storyline was not incorporated. And, you know, if you are going to incorporate a storyline like this, you know, it's risky, basically. But this one's not bad. So basically, you run this way, and this guy runs around, and then this is where the chase sequence starts. So there's, like, Combine coming from over here, and you have to jump out. Now, out this window, this encourages you to look around, because the exit's there. It encourages you to go over here, to go up here, and then to eventually find it. So it's not a simple run straight forward, because there's nothing worse than making the player, you know, basically run forward. And I think they're running behind us now. So see, I have to look about, and this is where we were. You know, I mentioned it earlier. I think one comes from over there. Yeah. So they're coming from everywhere, and they're kind of shutting down the area you can go to very quickly. So you don't like go too far down the path that you think that you should go. So I'm going to talk a bit about the visuals here. I don't usually, but I've taken a bit more interest in visuals over the past wee while. If you look at these buildings, they're not overly detailed. In fact, they're not detailed at all. Like, the windows are just part of the texture. And the only, I guess, prop they have on them is this overhang canopy thing. You don't need to go over the top with making, you know, your buildings look good. They just have to look like they're part of the city, part of the art style you're going for. Because too many times have I seen or heard of people who try and overly detail their buildings, and they just get tired of making them look so good when you really don't need to. You know, Half-Life 2 is not a realistic game, I guess. It's you need, you know, very minimal touches. Like that trim up the top there adds a touch. The rest of it's basically just the same until you get down here, and then you can start adding stuff. Right, so this next bit is kind of foreshadowing again. It's just giving you something to look at, kind of time to ponder. I don't know if there's any hidden stuff over here. I mean, you can see like the Strider and all that. I actually have never looked over here. Doesn't look like it. Just a bit of ground for the player to explore. So we see here, obviously the boards have been placed over to just kind of force interaction with the player. Gives them something to do. And then we get these guys, and they kind of remind us that the chase is still on, and we get shot at a bit. And we've got the same thing again. Our path is blocked. It's not easy. It just gives the player something to think about. Because you know when you've played a section of a mod and you can't even remember a single bit of it, you know it's not a very good mod. And we're going to see the same thing down here with these bricks and barrels. They are covering the button. It wasn't hard. First time, incidentally, first time I played it, I completely missed it. Ended up going way back, tried this door, which you can kind of see in. I think that was where we were earlier. And then I ended up going way back. So that was probably just me, although just be careful with where you're hiding stuff. Don't make it too obvious, but don't make it too hidden. Ah yeah, no, this is where we were going. Sorry, my mistake. And these guys are just to remind us that we're still being chased. Simplest puzzle. In fact, maybe you wouldn't class it as a puzzle. I would. Because it's still interaction. It's still how do we get over you. I could have jumped up, gone over, but you still had to break it to get down here. So, moving on, we can go right down here, but we can't get through that door basically. So now we've got an extra hazard. We've got this toxic goo, which is great to add where appropriate, because there's something else we have to think about. We're on these narrowish pipes, and we have to find our way round. So we've now come away from corridory gameplay, and we're now on more of a, I don't want to call it parkour because it's barely parkour, but it's still different. And we can listen to what they're saying, but we're not going to, because it's not important. And if you want to play this mod, then as I said, you can download it, but the story doesn't add very much. So this is basically a section to what we call downtime. It's slow, there's not a lot to do, but there's still like the breaking the boards, finding the buttons, but there's not a lot of pressure on. And this is where we were earlier. I think I mentioned the foreshadowing. So now we've got kind of, I guess, the first main combat encounter where we're properly going at it with the guns. And as you notice, and this is a minor thing, and I've got better examples later on for this, but these two Combine weren't exactly like just facing you as you came out the door. It was a bit close. Like, if they'd been over there, you could have maybe have got a few shots in, but they weren't just facing you, because in a lot of mods, more recently, I've seen people just place like a Combine soldier there. Incidentally, this theory's probably going to come out, go down the window in a minute. Like, this guy runs out. That's alright, because they know where you are, basically, but you basically, you run into a room and there's like 4 Combine soldiers and they're all facing you. And it just doesn't make any sense, and it just makes it boring. So if Combine are like working at consoles, talking to each other, anything like that, it just makes it a bit more enjoyable. I was wanting to hit that guy, it's not happening. Okay, so we're now on chapter 2 out of 4. I'm just working my way quickly through this because I don't want to spend ages. And a lot of the stuff I'll cover is fundamentally just going to be the same. We see an elevator there, and we're going to keep seeing that elevator, and it becomes very clear that that elevator is relevant to the gameplay. So we're slowly working our way down. Again, it's giving us a bit of interaction. We could have easily just ran forward, walked down that ladder, went down that ladder, not even thought about it, automatically done it, but we had to stop, we had to think, how do we sort that? And gone to the valve. So again, elevator, it's becoming relevant. We can look down and see the whole thing, and then there's this thing suspended in the air, which we will get to. This puzzle's fairly simplistic. If you know more or less the Half-Life 2 or the Half-Life games, you'll know that you'll be looking what you'll be looking for. And this button doesn't work. You try it. Sounds like it doesn't work. So you're kind of looking for the cable, the cord, and here it is, hidden, but at the same time it's clearly hidden, if that makes sense. So we can go around in a full circle and plug it in. So there you go, we just had a fairly simple puzzle that involved looping, or we could have gone down there and gone back, but I guess it's still classed as a loop. So it's find the cord, bring the cord back, push the button, pull the lever. It's not difficult. Nothing in this mod for the player is difficult to do. And that's the thing. Like, people think that they've got to make like their mods super difficult, and you know, you've got to have like a really high IQ, but you don't. This one's slightly different. It doesn't actually make it clear that this is electrified. I actually missed it because it's quite difficult to see the outlet there. But if you walk in here, you immediately die, which is, to me, very stupid. But then the door's right there, so I can see why the choice was made, but I still don't agree with it. I wouldn't have done it anyway. Right. And using the magic of physics, we can create ourselves a walkway. Incidentally, if we want to chance it, we can go and get this blocks, and try and get it. It's risky, but we get rewarded for it. I actually thought I was going to die there. I didn't. That was amazing. Anyway. What is coming next? So we're still working our way down here. Notice how he wasn't just facing us with his gun out, getting ready. He was actually looking the other way. Albeit that guy did come down in the back, and it gave you kind of the option to go for that guy first, or go for the guy who was, you know, facing the other way. Obviously I went for this guy. I could have gone for that guy. There's also guys up here now we can... There's a bit of jumping. Not everyone is good at jumping. I know people who just cannot do any of these jumping stuff. I'm not very good at the jumping. And it's good how it's leading us into different places. It's not keeping all in the same place. It's not like... Yeah, it's not like all in the same style of corridor. We're moving into caves. Now, you've got to really be careful how you do this, because sometimes it then becomes inconsistent, because you're like in an apartment and then you walk through a door and then you're in the citadel. You know, that's not good, but changing the areas is always a good idea. So now we hear a noise, and in fact, can we see it? No, that's still looking up there. Again, it's foreshadowing what is to come. And then we eventually get to the button for the elevator, but as we see here, we can't access it. Oh. So it's almost as if, one way of thinking about it is side quests in like an RPG. It's nothing like that at all, but you've basically got your main, storyline, but then you've also got stuff you've got to do to help you along the way. And that's what this is. I could have pushed that button if it had been working, but I had to go and power the elevator back up again. And there could easily be another battle happening at the moment with manhacks and stuff. I think there's a reason why, because there is like a defend section later on in the mod, but I don't know, it would have added something else to it. So now we get to a part of the mod that's just, as downtime as you can get, but it's interesting what's happening. So you could basically, you see this train, and I'm going to try and get this right. Oh no, it's not that one, it's this one. And jump on it. Now I missed that, but the train keeps, coming. So first time I completely didn't jump. I thought that I had to run along the train track, but yeah, so as I said, it's downtime. It's not like you have to do much fighting. There is like one or two soldiers over here whom you can shoot. I don't know if you can shoot these guys. No, you can't. But they can't do you very much harm. Also, you can't just like jump out of it, because that was my initial concern first time I played this. I think, if I can remember, I was like, where do I jump out? Should I have jumped out by now? Because sometimes you get these things that if you don't jump out of something, then you die basically. But this is interesting. It shows you the Combine soldiers. There's another train going past. It feels like a living world, a dynamic world. The best, I guess, settings for mods are mods where you don't feel like the only player or the only person who isn't part of the event. So they're all going about their normal lives, the Combine, doing what they do, oppressing people. And they could be looking for you, but that's neither here nor there. They are doing stuff that's not interacting with you, basically. And then that is that. So I guess that train journey partially served as a change in location, but it also just made it, interesting. You've got a bit of time to prepare for this, but there's not a lot to do to prepare. A bit of vertical combat. So these guys, you can't just run straight up to them and crowbar them. They're up there, so you'd have to kind of walk up here. But initially, during their first encounter, you don't. You're down there. They're up here. chapter 3. So what it does here is it introduces zombies to the mods basically. So for instance, if you hadn't played Half-Life 2 or in early episodes, you'd be introduced to them for the first time here, and it would be scary. You can see the G-Man there. But first off, it just introduces them. It introduces them, you know, lightly basically. So I think there's only one zombie initially somewhere. Again, I feel like the downtime goes on too long. Okay, so there's a zombie over there, a zombie over there. There's also one, a torso. So there's a few zombies, but they're not incredibly difficult to fight. So we're just going to keep going. We now have the shotgun, which is to deal with the fast head crab zombies. Obviously, as was in Half-Life 2. And they're going to get introduced here. I don't think this area is particularly good for introducing fast head crab zombies. I think they're very much an outdoor enemy, like a large outdoor area enemy, but it's not like, it doesn't do it so bad in this mod. Didn't even see him. So here, this is kind of what I was talking about. It's very cramped, you're backed up against the wall. And that was just that scenario, but generally outside is more you can use them more dynamically. Right, so this is what I was talking about earlier. You can come up here and start the elevator. Or the door rather, this door's gonna open. And you've got a defend section basically, which is fairly well paced. So basically you're not getting attacked by a lot of zombies all at the same time. It introduces them, I think, 2 or 4 at a time, but not like not like 15 at a time. Because a lot of the time you see that being done, where it just so many mods, or maps rather, I guess, because we recently had Defendville. Well, when I say recently, it was the start of the year. Defendville 2, and they just launched all the enemies they could at you, and it didn't make it fun, it didn't make it thought-provoking. And a similar thing was done in Half-Life with the Vortigaunts. They would spawn in front of you, and they, you know, you'd be able to time the. You'd be able to time how, you know, where you were shooting and the timing you were shooting, and it made it very arcade-like, but very fun. Do you think I can make it through that? I'll kill one more batch. and then it just closes when you come through it, which is, I guess, good for gameplay, so these guys don't get through, but at the same time, it's a bit strange. So, vent crawling is always good to have. At least, that's what I always say. It's kind of just my way of saying, don't just make it corridors. But there's nothing bad with a little bit of vent crawling. So we're now in a completely different setting. We're more in the countryside. We're in kind of an industrial estate, I guess you'd call it. Because there's like warehouses and stuff. But we can still see the city, which is cool. And I'll just see what was here. I don't think there was anything over here. Just somewhere for you to look. Same here, but you get rewarded for it. So again, there's a bit of distance combat here, you can't just run straight up to them. So we'll continue on. You can hear your, I guess, accomplice speaking. Again, we'll just skip past that. But this is a good way of introducing snipers, because obviously the player won't know. The player could get his head taken off. But here it introduces it by shooting at the zombies, so you know that there's definitely a sniper there. So it gives you time to plan, how am I going to do this? We could have used the zombies as kind of a more of a distraction, but we didn't. And actually, I don't know if I can shoot through there. I don't know. I'm not even going to try. But we see the rebels that are fighting. Again, this is good. Fights between two, I guess we'll call them factions, that don't include the player, makes it feel more real instead of rather just the player fighting everything and everyone. You know, there's stuff going on in this world. Okay, we've got all of that. Pretty simple puzzle. Open window, and that's it. We have to find out how to get up there. I guess the best puzzles are where you get shown the end point and get told to find a solution of getting to the end point. I guess we could jump from here. Oh. And you can see the hills and that warehouse, which we're going to be in a minute. Again, it's a bit slow here until we get outside when things start to kick off in a minute. Here they are. So it's a good way of having these guys come in. It's something that I don't see used, but combine scaling down buildings as opposed to them just standing there or running out of a door. Now, yeah, this bit's fairly cool. So this guy's chasing you, you have to get away at all costs, because I think he comes around here, yeah. And we see this thing that isn't used very much either. But it's being used fairly well here. You see, what annoys me is that that chase could have gone on longer and could have been more intense. Okay, so now we're in the factory. The factory is very big, it's very open, and you can basically run away over here, or you can explore in here. And that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go and have a look. But there's a bit to find. I guess there's nothing of any importance in here. And you can also walk out here and drop back into the middle. Or drop into this area where there's a lot of goodies. Simple puzzle, pick up the barricade and open the door. It's not difficult to add stuff like that. As I said earlier, we've got two factions fighting. Well, we had until I took them out. But it just gives you kind of a, this idea on who will I take out first. Will I take out the zombies first or the combine first? You know, who would be more beneficial on my side for this moment? That button opened that door. And we drop down. Oh dear, I'm not doing very well. I think we could probably see the hunter back there, but I can't remember. So yeah, you can just leave that whenever you like. So now we're on another zone, and here's another teaching mechanic. Now, it's a teaching mechanic of something that's already been seen in the games, so it's not as good, but it still teaches everything that needs to be taught. You know, like these, whatever they were called, they're dangerous. And there's the sniper as well. So that's two dangers that you have to take into account when traversing this land. I think they're called hoppers, that's right. Took me ages to get there, I was thinking what they called. But yeah, there's the hoppers and some enemies and the sniper. And this bit's one of the more intense bits, but as I said before, it's not difficult to run past. Okay, I'll use the crowbar to get in there. Okay, so we are more or less out of the line of sight, I think, of this guy, the sniper. So yeah, it wasn't like too intense, but at the same time, you still had to watch out for multiple factors. Okay, prototype. This is the final chapter. And it gives us a ton of goodies. And view, I guess. You can look along and see the bridge, but you're just going to see it out here anyway. This is quite a nice area. Again, it's not like over detailed, but it's detailed enough for it to look real. Now, you can hear the hunter, and this guy's a bit of a pain to fight, but that's good. This guy's like the main boss, and he's gonna show up here. And this is something that is a bit different. For instance, if we do that, his health is declining, and you'll see him go over to one of these things here and gain power. Now we can destroy these things. I think we can do it with a shotgun, yeah. So this guy then can't get recharged in health. I think there's also another one over here if memory serves me correctly. Here it is. And yeah, now he's off. So he opens up a new area. Wait, where is he? There he is. And there's a house here to store up on supplies, but you have to fight for them. So Combine have been placed here, so it's not an easy task. I don't think there's anything else around here. But this area is making good use of space because we're now going up this kind of mountain ridgeway thingy, whatever you call it, up to the bridge. So it's all kind of within an enclosed space, but it's still giving you a lot to do. I don't know if you can use that. We can. But yeah, we can see up there they're giving, they're reinforcing the Combine. We'll just leave that for the moment. I was hoping we'd get to use it more, but it's not to be. We'll just take out these guys, so There's more fighting. Now here's a cool thing. Once it stops lagging. You think you're safe, so you're going to walk over here, but if you look over here, and he makes the noise as you're walking, I should have probably showed you as if I was, you know, actually, you know, falling for it, basically. And at this point, we can just run down this path. This guy's helping us along the way. And we can just run. We don't need to fight him. And that's what I'm going to do. There we go. And then he gets annoyed and backs off, basically. And that, I think, is it. Unless there's a secret area over here. This is one of these areas I've always wanted to look at. No, there's not. It's probably something you need to do to get in there. Probably not. But yeah, that's it. So, thank you for watching, and I really hope that this has helped, because it's not difficult to make stuff like this. I mean, to make a mod this length and consistently good is difficult, and there was a lot of testers involved. But basically, it's not difficult to even just make a single level that's fun to play. So if you look at mods like Precinct 17, it's very short but very fun. It's kind of like at the same level of funness. So yeah, hopefully this will just give you a few ideas on what you might want to do and how you might want to go about things in terms of gameplay. And if you've got enough dedication, you can make something just like this in terms of games design, level design rather. So, thank you.